I'm going to make something that is currently like viral sensation all over the internet. Dubai chocolate. Okay. Now, Dubai chocolate is quite difficult to get hold of, mainly because of how popular it's become. Everybody wants to try it, but equally, it's a little bit on the expensive side. So I decided to recreate it. Well, I'm not doing it completely on my own. I've had to pinch a recipe from somebody because no idea how to make it. Other than that, it contains some odd ingredients. So it's a chocolate bar with a filling, which isn't odd until you find out what the filling is. But before we get into that, what I've done is I've got some milk chocolate there. And actually, before I do anything else, because you don't want any water in the chocolate, because it'll split, I've melted over that pan about 180 grams of milk chocolate. Okay, and we're going to pour that into a mould. Now, the recipe said it should make enough for one large or several small bars, and they were using the same size mould as this. I'm not sure whether I might need, because I'm planning on making two, I might need to add some more chocolate to that. But let's start with this one. And what we want to do is, yeah, I think that definitely is going to need more chocolate. And in fact, makes me think, I wonder whether the 180 they claim to use is actually enough. So we want to make sure the whole of that inside is covered right up to the edges at the top, because we obviously want to seal our filling in. So I'm just running this around the edge, and literally I will have to make some more, or melt some more chocolate if I'm gonna do 2 bars. So I will melt some more. I'll use the remainder that I've got in there to coat this one. And what we want to do is then, I should point out, by the way, that if you put too much in there, because you're going to need some more to do the bottom of the bar. If you put too much in your mould, which is like whoever this person was that I was watching, tip it out. She made a bit of a mess, to be honest. I'm just going to need some more chocolate in that one. So we're definitely going to need to melt another lot of chocolate. Okay, so I'll keep that pan to one side. Although some of this I've perhaps gone a little bit heavy-handed. And also you might want to knock out any air bubbles. And if you do happen to get it all over the sides, a bit like she did, then give it a couple of knocks, get them air bubbles out. And now these need to go in the fridge to set. One of the fillings is this stuff, kataifi. I can't say the bloody thing now. It'll be written down in the comments. And it's a type of shredded phyllo pastry. Oh, that's going to make a mess. What we want to do is cut it up into short little strands, because we're going to crispen this up with some butter, and that's going to be mixed in with the filling. Now, might seem a bit odd, but it was invented by a woman who set up a chocolate making business, if you like, fixed dessert chocolatier. And part of it was because, being pregnant, she wanted to come up with something that satisfied all her cravings. So weird and wonderful flavour combinations. Now this stuff is quite difficult to buy where I live. And you can get it on Amazon and it's quite expensive. So this is homemade. And if you want to know how to make it yourself, there will be a little thing in the link. Don't fucking do it. It takes forever. Save yourself a bother, buy it. Anyway, I've now got 50 grams of butter, which I'm just going to put in there. And get myself a... I just want to melt that butter down. And then we're effectively going to fry that off in the butter. And then we're going to need to let it cool. And not only will this impart, I don't know what flavour it imparts, to be honest, but it gives this texture to it. If you've ever seen the Dubai chocolate, it looks like a bit of a mess inside. It's green pistachio, and we've got some pistachio cream or butter there. I've got 200 grams of that. It's also got tahini. I've got 2 tablespoons of tahini there. It's going to have white chocolate mixed in with it, and all these things here are going to be in the filling of that chocolate bar. So we just want to get this melted down, get the heat up, and then the idea is that goes in there, and we want to crispen it up until it goes nice and golden. So now the butter's melted, I've turned the heat down on low, and we're just going to cook this, like I say, till it starts crispening up a bit and going nice and golden. And then we're going to want to let it cool so we can make our filling with it. So it was Sarah Humour in 2021 who formed this chocolate business, if you like, and it was her pregnancy cravings that led to her making this. In 2024 it started to go viral, and part of it was because her and her husband realised the way to get this out there was to give it to influencers, social media people, get it on TikTok, Instagram, all those sort of sites, get them trying it out, get them promoting it, and that's exactly what happened. It was made in Dubai because that's where they were living, and it was also partly as a result of the cost of the materials. And so as a result, somehow by making them into these chocolate bars, it actually made it cheaper than using the ingredients a different way. I don't quite know why, but there you go. That's apparently the story. Equally, they realised that Dubai, which is where they lived anyway, was the sort of right kind of place for the right sort of people to promote this chocolate bar. So, I should have it very low, that it's on my little bar, so I'm just going to turn that up a little bit. So I've got some more milk chocolate there, which will melt down later, but of course at the moment we haven't even finished our fillings. So we're going to need to melt down that white chocolate in a bit. So I don't know if you can see now, we're getting a nice little bit of colour to it. So at this point, I'm going to turn that down on low because I want that heat. I'm just going to tip this out. Try and leave behind some of that butter because we don't necessarily want that. And like I said, we just want this to cool down now. While we make the rest of the filling. So what I'm going to do now is in here, bit of that went there, make a mess. We're just going to melt down that chocolate and then into this bowl. Here's a smaller spatula. What have I got? I might have to be that one, I think. We're just going to put into there our tahini. So this was one of the odd combinations that she added. Actually, the recipe that I'm following, they don't actually put tahini in it, so I've added tahini. And then we're going to put that pistachio paste. It's not so noticeable now, but when I first did it, there was 2 different jars, 2 different brands. And one was a paler green than the other. Not that it really made any difference. It's all going to get mixed in now. Oops. So we're just going to mix that together. And then we're waiting on that chocolate. Now, I think I mentioned people were saying that, you know, alternatives to that. One that you might come across on the internet if you look up recipe, if you can't get hold of the real stuff, is shredded wheat. Shredded wheat is not a good substitute. Yes, it will add texture to it, and in a way you might argue that's similar, but it won't be exactly the same at all. Okay, so that's mixed in there. Now we just wait on that chocolate, and then we'll mix that in there. But also we want to make sure that our chocolate moulds have, you know, set. So there's that white chocolate, and then that's going to go. Now, despite what I said about the amount of chocolate and how much there is, there appears to be far more filling here than for one large bar. But we'll have to wait and see, won't we? So in that goes. It says sumptuously licking the spoon. And I'm going to quickly give that a bit of a mix before we now add in that a bit. It's nice and messy. So, depending on the pistachio paste you use, it will depend on just how bright green it is. Some of these chocolate bars, when you see them when people eat them, they're like bright green. I think I've said before, it always surprises me, pistachios, whenever you see pistachios being used in a recipe, they're always so green. Pistachios we seem to be able to get here are never like that. Right, so I'm just going to let that cool a little bit because it's still a little bit warm. I don't want it melting the chocolate. Now, when we come to do it, we'll be putting a layer into those chocolate moulds, but obviously leaving enough at the top for a sealing layer of chocolate. To make sure that it does all do that, once that's cooled a little bit, put it in the moulds, we will then put them back in the fridge, or preferably the freezer, for about 5–10 minutes. Let's add some of that filling. and then I'm just gonna spread it out all the way to the edges. Remember, we coated the side with chocolate. Oops, got some up the top there. So like I said, there's more than enough filling there for more than one bar. Although, having said that, I think I might need to put a little bit more in there just to get it up into those corners. But that now, like I say, we want to chill that. We want to get that nice and cold. So they was in the fridge for a bit, and then I've chilled them in the freezer. Okay, and so now what we want to do is give them coating, final coating of chocolate. So that gives us a base. I estimated how much more chocolate I wanted, and I grossly underestimated, so that other one is going to go back in to the fridge to stay chilled while this one is finished off and allowed to set. Okay, so till that's fully set, you can't really taste it. So here we go, let's try turning it out. So hopefully it should be all fully set. So this is just a plain silicone mould, hasn't been greased or anything like that, and I have to say it's worked really well. Out it's come. And what I thought I'd do is, I've got some of this ages ago and just never got round to using it. Because it's Dubai chocolate, sometimes you see all coloured patterns all over it. Really, I need a brush for this. But what I've got here is some gold leaf, which I just thought, given what it is, it's meant to be a bit more special. Let's apply some gold leaf to it. Which, like I say, I bought this a little while ago, never got round to using it. When I've seen people applying gold leaf, where'd that bit go? They use like a brush. Anyway, I think that will do for that bit. So there you go, your bar of Dubai chocolate. So it's still a bit sticky. I think that's just damp. Let's try breaking it. There you go. It's quite a thick bottom on this one, but you can see the filling in there. Nice little crunch. It's a bit sticky, this chocolate. It's melting at the moment. There's perhaps more chocolate than there is filling, which is a little bit different to most of them. But having said that, I think it means that the filling's not quite so overpowering. But you're getting that crunch from that textured filling. You're still getting the pistachio, the tahini, but it's tempered quite a lot by that fact that you've got that chocolate taste. Bloody messy. But there you go. There you go. Homemade Dubai chocolate. Very, very nice.